Hi, my name is Peyton Wheeler, and this is my informational speech titled Ascension, Japan's Disruptive Rise and Growth of Influence Within Fashion. Now, most people, when they think of Japan, they think of the cultures that are very unique, that are associated with Japan, such as the ones that regard anime and their animation styles, the video games, the developers, their car culture, very rich car culture, as well as a very rich culinary culture. Now, what a lot of people don't think of, especially within Western cultures, is the influence that Japan has on fashion and the impact that they really do have on current fashion and have had on fashion for a very long time. Now, what I'm going to talk about today is how Japan rose to that significance, because it really was not always like that, how Japan built off of this rise and has maintained prevalence and has really built on top and spread and grown, and the current impact of Japanese fashion. Now, prior to the 70s, Japanese fashion was pretty much obsolete to Western cultures. This can be attributed to how traditional most stylings were back then for Japanese clothing. It can also be attributed to these wars finally settling down by the end of the 60s, all of that kind of stuff. Now, there are three key designers. Once the 70s hit, there are three key designers that are considered the first wave of Japanese fashion. Now, what they did, and their names are Yohji Yamamoto, Rei Kawakubo, and Issei Miyake. And these three pushed out designs within Europe. They went to Europe in the 70s and 80s, and they pushed these outlandish designs, pushing all sorts of boundaries, and in every sort of way. They were genderless clothing. It was very androgynous. People had really never seen it before, but they loved it. And it really evolved this, it didn't really evolve, it altered this contemporary style of fashion into what they call Japanese avant-garde. Now, a lot of designers now, a key designer that utilizes avant-garde in most all of their designs are Rick Owens. If you know who that is, he's a very, very well-known name. And following this, well, throughout the 80s, then once the 90s hit, there's a bit of a problem that hits, is that not all people are going to want to wear Japanese avant-garde. It's unconventional, it can be very expensive, it's on Parisian runways. How are people going to be getting their hands on it? So what happens is that there was a rise in street culture and counterculture within Japan. It was really driven by the youth. And what happened in this culture is that it pushed out designers that developed clothing that really fit this aesthetic of the street culture. Now, we call it today streetwear, but back then we didn't really call it that. And this man on the far left, his name is Nigo. He created the brand A Bathing Ape, also known as Bape, in 1993. It is one of the very first streetwear brands and is by far the most successful streetwear brand. Now, what he did was he utilized American pop culture, which was a fantastic idea. He utilized rappers such as Pharrell Williams in the middle of this picture and Kanye West on the far right of this picture. And he used them in collaborations to promote these products. And it really did work, and it really drew the youth in, and it pushed this youth movement of wearing street clothing, or what they called street clothing back then. And especially American youth really latched on once he started utilizing American hip-hop artists. Now, currently in Japan, their fashion impact is really, really seen through how celebrities even now dress, because a lot of people gain their influence from celebrities and how their celebrities that they look up to dress. In this picture, there's Justin Bieber and Billie Eilish, both wearing streetwear clothing that can be associated with Japan. Now, Kanye West, he has his own Yeezy brand under Adidas, which has found influences from his collaborations with Nigo, as well as with an artist named Takashi Murakami. And Yohji Yamamoto, who is also a part of the first wave, he actually has his own brand under Adidas as well, and he does some avant-garde work as well. Now, as for Bathing Ape, it is doing very, very well. Nigo is still very, very successful, and during this process of running Bape, Pharrell and Nigo also created the brand Billionaires Boys Club, which is still very, very popular to this day. And the growth of all of these celebrities really wearing this kind of stuff has brushed off on other celebrities, which has spread and spread and spread, and it can be seen in this picture today. Now, in conclusion, the work that the first wave had done to really elevate Japan was nothing short of revolutionary. It altered the way people thought, it pushed all sorts of boundaries, and it really did what it needed to do. And Japan built on this influence, and they built with it, and they really pushed it onto the youth, which drove this culture further. Now, Japanese fashion today is still seen within streetwear and baggier clothing and everything assimilated. And here are my references.